Yes, it is nice to see all of you back from your break. We hope you are invigorated and ready for the rest of the afternoon's entertainment. I should have known that would happen. What with the theme, a French poodle would have been obvious. I just hope they weren't spies working for the competition. After all, black and white, they may work for a Steak and Shake. I shall write that down. Yes, but I think we should probably vacate the stage pretty soon here. We have much more to hear. I know that the next speaker is going to be very, very, very important. So perhaps you should all have your own notebook paper, at least a sandwich wrapper with which you write your notes. And once we get the seesaw off the stage, we will continue. I've never actually said once we get the seesaw off the stage, we will continue. Perhaps we are ready now? Yes, here it comes. Ladies and gentlemen, please, your utmost attention for the next speaker, who is very, very important. Yes, thank you so much for cleaning up. Thank you. Whoa, whoa, stop! We need somebody to clean this up. It's a little reminder, yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ron Shaich.
Mine. Somebody can take this. You know, once you're in ops, you're always in ops. That's the way it is. Okay, folks, it's a great time for Panera, isn't it? Huh? Good time? You know, things are going so well for us today, it's hard to remember we ever faced challenges. But think back to what was happening in Panera when we gathered for our last family reunion. Back then, we were under attack from every direction. Last reunion, Krispy Kreme had just bought Montana Mills and announced they were going to build hundreds, if not thousands, of Panera knockoffs. And McDonald's and other fast food players had also set their sights on us. They wanted what we had, and they didn't: upscale customers. And back then, many industry analysts actually believed the Panera wannabes would derail Panera. And then there was Atkins. You know, the end of carbs as we knew them. If there was ever a direct assault on mother bread, that was it. With all these challenges facing Panera, one could expect that our sales would be weak. In fact, our comp store sales were very weak last year. And with all that going on, our stock was under pressure. Wall Street concerns about the future of Panera flattened our stock for 14 long months leading up to the last reunion. Indeed, things felt pretty dark, very dark, over at Bally's 16 months ago. But today, the world looks a lot brighter. Those of you who were around last year can feel the difference. The sun is shining again. It's easy to get up in the morning. We wake before the alarm clock. The day starts with a deep breath of morning air. There isn't a cloud in the sky. We drive to work with a big smile. We're actually happy to be there. The Panera hugs are flowing, folks. Panera warmth abounds everywhere. Bonuses are back. Things are going our way. The jump is back in our step. We're telling jokes, and we're laughing at them. We're high-fiving more, and we're blaming each other less. P&L reviews are actually fun now. Yes, we're on top of the world. Okay, so we feeling pretty good, aren't we? Are we feeling pretty good? Yeah, I am. All right. So, I thought it might be fun to take a quick inventory of where things stand today, give you a sense, a little perspective. Where are we today? Krispy Kreme is near bankruptcy. And 6 months ago, they announced they were closing down Montana Mills. I understand why they gave up on Montana Mills. As you all know, our business is difficult to execute. It takes real skill. And Krispy Kreme not only failed to execute, but they actually lost their way in the process. They lost touch with what made them successful in the first place. Now they're in trouble, and now they have a new management team in place. Their new CEO, a gentleman named Stephen Cooper, is a specialist. He knows how to turn around companies in trouble. He's very experienced, and he's very prepared for the work ahead of him. In fact, he just finished cleaning up another corporate train wreck, Enron. You know, we love hiring the best talent we can find. But please, let's leave the bankruptcy specialists to companies like Krispy Kreme. What do you think? Huh? Yeah. Cool. Then there are the Panera wannabes from fast food. People like McDonald's. People like McDonald's who've tried to upgrade and attract Panera's customers, particularly women, with things like entree salads, premium chicken, and better design. Let's look closely at these two recent print ads up on the screen. Let me read you the copy on one of the ads. Okay, this is it. This is the salad for me. The grilled chicken Caesar at McDonald's. I'm so into all the different kinds of lettuce and the cute little tomatoes. But what really shouts my name is all that warm grilled chicken. I am one happy woman. Can you believe that's a McDonald's ad? Come on, I must admit it. I've been to McDonald's a few times in my life. My wife tells me my body is a temple, but my intestines are still a sewer. But the truth is, I have yet to ever run into anybody that looks like that woman in McDonald's. What do you think? So, here's the question. Did all those upgrades help McDonald's? Did they? Well, it turns out that McDonald's improvements did help their business. Take a look at their comps. Year to date, McDonald's comps have been up 5%. And as predicted, other companies suffered. So who got hurt by McDonald's upgrades? Simple, Wendy's. Wendy's comps have been down 0.5% this year. It seems Wendy's positioning as the fast food quality alternative has been compromised. But did McDonald's upgrade hurt Panera? Let's look at that one for a second. Not in the least. Unbelievable. Great year. Panera comps have been up even more than McDonald's. As McDonald's rolled out new salads last year, our salad business grew by 20% per cafe. And you made all of them, folks. And as McDonald's rolled out their new premium chicken, Panera menu items prepared with our all-new, all-natural antibiotic chicken grew over 200% per cafe. I suppose that shouldn't surprise us. Mickey D's can upgrade their food and their graphics a little, but that doesn't make them Panera. You can take a bulldog and add lipstick, but it's still a bulldog. Then there was the challenge. Everybody but everybody was sure would knock Panera down for the count. Atkins. Think back to 2003 and early 2004. The Atkins craze was at its peak. Remember how it felt to be working for a company with bread in its name. Remember people suggesting we remove bread from the Panera name? Well, things are different now, aren't they? The insanity over carbs has finally had its day. The Atkins diet has joined garlic, grapefruit, and sex-enhancing carrots on the health claim scrap heap. And did you know what happened to Atkins International, the company that made all the Atkins products? That's it, they're done. Right? Right. Now, I think that says it all, but just one second. Maybe there's just one more thing we need to say. Up on your feet, let's go. Hey, come on, stand up. Hey, run. Let's go. Hey, hey, goodbye. Hey, hey. Hey, hey, goodbye. You got the words? You got to say it. I got to hear you. at Bally's, in Boston, in Cleveland. The guy's dead, let him hear it. Hey. Bring it up. All right, one more. Hey. Goodbye. All right. Thank you. You guys need to get some exercise on these because it's going to go on a long time. Okay, we'll get you up and moving. All right. So do you think we gave Atkins a respectful send-off or what? Yes. Okay, back to business. Many of you know I find it wasted energy to focus on the stock price. But I must admit among us family members, all 1,800 of us, that I do occasionally glance at the stock price. Just occasionally. Nancy, I know, is glancing at it hourly, but I on occasion. At any rate, look at the performance of restaurant stocks in 2005. Right? Now look at Panera's performance. Can you believe our stock has been the best performing large-scale restaurant stock so far this year? We're up about 35% year to date. I would call that a positive change. Okay. So how come the stock is up? How come? Maybe it's our comps, folks, right? You heard earlier. But how are the industry comps? Let's look at them. Okay? And how is Panera doing? Can you believe we are also leading the industry with comps of almost 8% year to date? Pretty good. We have a saying, right? I say, sweet, right? Amazing. But let me take a second and talk about it and give them some perspective. To me, the most important measure to look at our sales is 2-year comps. This measure takes a look at sales growth over a full 24-month period. And as a result, it shows the impact of initiatives that are longer term in nature. Things like improvements in accuracy, improvements in team morale, and the leadership of folks like you, management. In addition, by looking at the 2-year comps, we can wash out one-time events like weather and Atkins. Year to date, 2005, Team Panera has produced 2-year comps of 10.5%, again, among the best in the industry. Folks, let me tell you a fact that absolutely amazes me. We have 18 markets, which have produced 2-year comps of over 15%. That is unbelievable. That means 18 markets in Panera, almost half the system, averaged 7.5% comps for 2 years in a row. Let's take a few minutes and acknowledge those teams that have produced those results. I will read in reverse order the markets and the comps. Feel free to wave so we know where you are as I call out your market. Okay, you got the rules? Let's start with the first one. Tampa, Florida, 15% 2-year comps. Tampa, can you stand? All right. Another Covelli market, Orlando, Florida at 15.2. Hey, we'll see who's loudest. All right, our friends in Maryland, Brian Lemick and his team, 15.5% comps. Let's go up the East Coast to Long Island, New Jersey, 16% comps. Back down the East Coast to Richmond, Virginia, 16.7% comps. Hey, Richmond. All right, let's go back home to the Midwest, Central Illinois, 17% comps. Staying in the Midwest, Kansas City, Missouri, 17% comps. Hey. Back to my part of the country, Providence, Rhode Island, Hartford, Connecticut, the Halley Bread Group, 17.1% comps. Hey, look at the way they're dressed. All right, let's go out to Central Missouri. Greg Anderson's team, 17.9% comps. And back home to David and Mitchell's Market, Northern New England, 18% comps. Let's see them up there. All right, back down the East Coast to Norfolk, Virginia, 18.2% comps. Very good. Okay, my hometown, Boston, Mass, 18.7%, the Hammer team. Yay. Springfield, Missouri, 19.5%. Very good, Jim Majors. Another Majors market, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, 19.6%. Right? Now we're getting to the really serious comps. Sarasota, Florida, 19.7% comps. Pretty good, huh? Now, you're waiting for it. The number 3 and the number 2 comp markets, please stand and let us recognize you as I call your name. And please take your seat again so we can acknowledge the rest of the folks. In 3rd place, Louisville, Kentucky, 24% 2-year comps. Okay. Oh, hey, down yet. All right, what's amazing to me is that Archie had a time to drive those comps with Churchill Downs so close by. Archie, I couldn't resist. Okay. In 2nd place, as you see on the screen, Nashville, Tennessee, 29.5% comps. Good job, Pat. Where's Pat? Okay. All right, I need a drink of water for the next one. Now I'd like to announce the number one 2-year comp market in all of Panera. This is a market that nobody ever expected to be the champs. A Cinderella team, if there ever was one, sort of the Red Sox of Panera, but with 2-year comps of 32.7%. They are on top. Would the Dallas team please stand? Thank you. We're very proud of you, Tina. We're very proud of you in Dallas. I don't think anybody thought we'd get here, and it is just amazing. It's a testament to perseverance and discipline and sticking with it. Now, all the markets I just named, that is all of you, with 2-year comps over 15%. Again, up on your feet. We want to salute you. Everybody. Everybody we mentioned. Look at this, folks. All I can say is wow, huh? Wow. You guys are stars. We're so proud of you. You did great work. You're awesome. All right. So let's get back to talking about where things stand today. When you compare where we're at against where we were just 16 months ago, it's clear things are a lot better for Panera. You know how I feel about that? I can tell you in just 3 words. Vive la différence. In May of 2005, we were again the MVP of the food industry. And many analysts consider us to be at the top of our game. Indeed, many would suggest it just can't get any better for Panera. So the question I ask, is all this current success good for us? Well, let me tell you, it certainly beats the alternative. But with success comes real peril. In my experience, folks, this is exactly the time we should start to worry. Because success makes it even more difficult to maintain our competitive advantage. Why do I think we should be worried when I've just listed all the good things Panera is experiencing today? It's simple. When you're on top, something always goes wrong. Let me start with this example to help explain it. Do you know about the Sports Illustrated cover curse? That happens when an athlete or team member appears triumphantly on the cover of SI, and it usually indicates the beginning of the end. From that point forward, their stats begin a quick descent, and success is mentioned in the past tense. Remember this SI cover of Bo Jackson? At that point, the big question seemed to be, would Bo dominate in baseball or in football? It turned out he didn't make it in either sport. In fact, the next time SI did a story on Bo, it was for a feature article on athletes pursuing other careers. And what second career did Bo choose? Restaurants. Right? Unbelievable. Bo, make you a deal. I'll stay out of your business if you stay out of mine. Thinking about the SI curse makes me very concerned that Panera, that we will experience the restaurant version of it. We're primed for it, folks, if you don't get it. We're winning all the industry awards. We've become the darling of CNBC's Jim Cramer and his Mad Money show. And I've been on the cover of all the industry rags. But truth be told, it's not something I ever wanted. That's not what I wanted. Since I was a kid, a little guy, the only magazine cover I ever really cared about was Sports Illustrated. But a guy like me, I just never had what it took. Who whistled? Take a name. All right. Who? Where did that slide come from? Yanofsky! Who put that? It's those administrative types. You never know what's going on. Here's why the SI curve happens. It's not about being on the cover of a magazine. It's really about overconfidence. People tell you, you're the greatest thing since Asiago. Pretty soon, you believe it. It's no different in the restaurant industry. We have our own success curve. Look up here. All these were once considered the cream of the crop. Real comers, can't miss star quality. Look what happened to them. You know, most successful restaurant companies do not stay on top for long. We've been talking about this phenomena at these reunions for years. So why do these once strong companies lose their edge? What happens? It starts with how people think. People start to worry about protecting what they already have. They start to worry about protecting their investments rather than growing them. Internal conversations in these kind of companies go something like this. We're doing great. And then it goes, why change anything when things are working? When you look at these successful companies who start to slow down, you need to look inside the company. You'll find team members who are no longer willing to do what's required to sustain innovation. It's understandable. Change is difficult. It's expensive, it's risky, and it's uncomfortable. And as they say in France, it's a huge pain in the derriere, right? So people ask themselves, why change? Comps are good. We're making money. Do we really have to make another investment? And is it really worth the pain? From there, they convince themselves, if it ain't broke, come on, folks, you know how it goes. I need to get you talking. If it ain't broke, come on, I'm not going first. Thank you. That's what they say. Let me tell you something very directly. I think that accepting the status quo and simply trying to protect it is very dangerous for Panera. Indeed, that kind of arrogance threatens the very future of our company. And I believe that with all of my heart. Know that you can't stay in the lead in a competitive business by leaving everything alone until something breaks. It's that simple. Complacency like that is a direct threat to our future. But don't believe me. Just ask the folks at McDonald's and those who went through the McDonald's system. Ask them whether the if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality that McDonald's projected throughout the 80s prepared them well for the 90s. I know what they're going to tell you, folks. Folks, in this business, things never stay the same. Do you think we're the only ones who are aware of Panera's success? Do you not think our competitors are jealous? Their boards are beating on them? They're taking notes? Do you not think they know how we do things? And do you not think they know we're onto something very real? In fact, now they've seen us weather the Atkins storm. You know, think about it. In the middle of the Atkins hoopla last year, we used to joke that the silver lining of Atkins was that it would discourage competitors from going after our business. And in fact, that was true. Last year, everybody in our business was running from bread. But here's how quickly things change. This year, bread is the hot place to be again. Look at this recent front page article just a month and a half ago from Nation's Restaurant News. Read the headline, specialty bread offerings on the rise. Read a little bit further. The article says, will bread be the next salads? What was the big project last year? Salads. Now it's bread. The article then notes the whole pack, that is to say QSR, is now betting the proof is in the oven. To quote that great St. Louis citizen, Yogi Berra, it's deja vu all over again. Here we go again. Everyone, and I mean everyone, wants to be like Panera again. At the last reunion, we were worried about the impact of fast food upgrades and about the casual dining guys pushing curbside pickup. But now the competitive threat is more direct. It's folks coming at us head on with bakery cafe knockoffs. Head on. Let's add that to the slide. The fact is, we were right absolutely right to be worried about Montana Mills when Krispy Kreme bought them. They were planning to build a concept similar to Panera and go after us head to head. And tell the truth, they could have hurt us too if Krispy Kreme hadn't collapsed. We dodged the bullet. Montana Mills is gone. But we may not be so lucky the next time. And now Cozy is poised for a second shot at us. Do you think it's a coincidence that Cozy cafes look like Panera cafes? Is it a coincidence? No. And you know what else? Cozy recently raised a ton of money. And Wall Street presently values this company at almost $400 million. All this, even though they're losing money. So why would investors put money into a losing venture? Why? Because they're betting that the folks at Cozy can execute the Panera playbook and build almost 2,000 Cozys that are clones of Panera. The chairman of Cozy, a gentleman named William Foster, he said just that last month at an investor conference. We got a tape of his remarks. So let's listen to some of what he said.
In terms of the potential for growth, and this is another one of the simple charts that we get excited about, you know, the key takeaway here is if you look at Panera, and Kevin made this point, but I'll underscore it, we're thrilled with what Ron and his team have done at Panera, and they've publicly stated that they see, in addition to the great growth they've already had, that they can get to about 3,000 units or about an additional 4 times runway ahead of them. Correspondingly, if you look at us, we've got 95 units today. We've sized the market opportunity in the top 75 markets here in the U.S. to be approximately 1,900 units, and therefore we got about 19 times unit growth in front of us. And as I said, it's something that we're very excited about.
Let me say something. I say it directly to Bill Forrest. Thanks for the compliment, but I can promise you my SI cover will hit the newsstands before you have 1,900 Panera knockoffs. Then there's Corner Bakery. We all know Corner Bakery. After years of being a small part of Brinker, Corner Bakery is being sold. You think the buyer wants to grow it? You think they have a role model they want to imitate? Do I have to tell you who it is? It's you, folks. You know it. I figured out something. I figured out there's one group of people who love our stores even more than all the people in Neil's video. You know who they are? The architects who work for our competitors. Take a look at the interiors that places like Calistoga Bakery Cafe are building. Feel very familiar? It does, doesn't it? And how about a place called Bear Rock? They fell in love with a certain St. Louis-based company's look. And I can tell you it sure isn't Ted Drew's that they're copying. Folks, Mother Bread is everyone's target. Now let's talk about something else as we think about that. Let's talk about the fact that customers also are evolving and that rising customer expectations represent a third challenge to us. Let's throw that up in the chart of threats we showed you earlier. Here's the truth. What customers perceive as special one day becomes ordinary the next. Let me give you an example of what I mean. When I got out of school, I dreamed of owning a Porsche 911. Back then, the 911 was one of the fastest cars on the road. It did 0 to 60 in 10.3 seconds. Today, that's just ordinary performance. Today, any Honda Civic, any Ford Focus can do 0 to 60 in 10.3 seconds. Almost any car can. So why is the 911 still such a huge success? Simply put, Porsche keeps innovating. Today's 911 can go from 0 to 60 in only 3.6 seconds. They don't let their competitors steal their edge. They keep delivering cars that got better, cars that are different, and cars that are special. That was and is the 911's competitive advantage. Folks, I'm here to tell you today that in business, success breeds arrogance. Competitors knock off the winners, and consumers always expect more. I'm here to tell you there's only one way to prepare for the future, to get there first. Folks, we've accomplished a lot together, and we have every right to be proud. But if we don't recognize the challenges, we face, we're not proud, we're stupid. And you know what? That's just what our competitors are hoping for, an open door, a chance to catch up with us. So the question of the day I'd like to address is how do we maintain our competitive advantage, the advantage we work so hard to create in the face of all the challenges we encounter? I'll give you a clue to the answer. It's what brought us to the dance. In fact, if you haven't figured it out, the clue is right up in front of you. Very simply, what is it? Vive la différence. Now, I'm not as fancy as John and Cup. I don't have the hats, and I don't know any French. So I'll give it to you in plain English. In order to maintain our competitive advantage, we must maintain the significant differences between Panera and our competitors. There's a story I love, and I often tell it, which illustrates this point. You may have heard the one about Bill and Ted, two hikers walking through the woods. Suddenly, a huge grizzly bear appears in their path. "Arr!" he says. The bear is startled, and he moves towards the hikers. Bill drops his backpack, and he starts to run back down the trail. Ted turns to Bill and yells, "What are you doing? You can't outrun the bear." And Bill yells back, "I don't need to outrun the bear. I just need to outrun you." Okay, you get it. You get the point. What Panera needs is to stay ahead of our competitors. It's a no-brainer, right? It's all simple, right? But the question is, how do we do it? That's the tough part. Let me take a shot at answering the how question. To maintain the significant differences between Panera and our competitors, we must do two things. First, we must stay true to the things that make us different and make us special. And second, we've got to keep innovating to be better at what we do and more relevant to more and more customers. Now, you're probably thinking that only Shaich, only me, could put up a slide with 2 points on them, one that says we have to stay the same and the other that says we have to change. Right? But can a company, and a question you'd ask is, can a company really do both of those things at the same time? My answer, we have to. Let me offer a way to visualize what I mean. We want to be like a very, very strong oak tree. That oak tree takes nourishment from its roots. That oak tree expands with new and stronger branches as it grows. Cool illustration, huh? You like that? It's an illustration. Okay. The illustration really explains the secret to success that the best companies employ. Take, for example, Apple Computer. You all know it. Wasn't it about 4 years ago when Apple introduced the iPod to the world? Just a great product, isn't it? How many of you have an iPod? How many? Yeah? Okay, let's hear it. All right. Hang on. All right. I know, I should have brought some to hand out. I'm so sorry. We're over budget already. But at any rate, all right, how many of you want to have an iPod? Sorry. How many of you never heard of the iPod? Okay, good. No one here has been on desert island for the past 3 years. The Apple iPod is the most successful product that has ever been introduced. Now consider this. Before the iPod came out, what would have you thought about Apple, a computer company, going into the music business? You would wonder, what do they know about selling songs online? What do they know about consumer electronics? Be honest. Would you have taken the bet that Apple could succeed in the music business? Folks, Apple has sold 15 million iPods in less than 4 years. 10 million were sold last year alone. Apple accounted for 3 of the top 5 consumer electronics products in 2004. iTunes has sold more than 230 million songs to date, and a $5 billion business has been created from thin air. Today, Apple controls 80% of the digital music player market and 75% of the online music market. Simply put, Apple blew past all the established electronic companies to make iPod the dominant digital music player in the world. The iPod fundamentally changed both the future trajectory of Apple and the music business itself. So how did Apple pull this off when more than a dozen companies before them had failed to develop a successful digital music player? What did they do? They remained true to their core while executing innovations that made them even more relevant for consumers. How did they get it done? They began by understanding that to succeed, they had to accomplish a huge task. They had to break through a belief among both consumers and internal Apple people that Apple did not belong in the music or in the consumer electronics business. To do that, they knew they had to develop what their CEO, Steve Jobs, calls insanely great product. Products that turn the heads of consumers and pundits alike. For Steve Jobs, nothing less was acceptable. Jobs saw himself not as a corporate functionary, but as the leader of a team with one focus, thinking and creating products for users. They were, in effect, creating great products for themselves. Jobs and his team spent months poring over the smallest details of the original iPod. They were committed to making sure that everything about the iPod and their digital music business was integrated, was consistent, and just right. Now think about how you bought your iPod and how you use your iPod. Recall the Apple Store. Recall the iPod box and the iTunes interface. Each element of the iPod experience is about simplicity and it's about good design. In fact, everything about the iPod is consistently Apple quality. And that is why, in hindsight, the iPod could have come from no one else but Apple. And today it's impossible to think about Apple without thinking about the iPod. True, the iPod represented a big change for Apple. But the beauty of it, it wasn't a change that moved them away from who they are. It built on the core things that make Apple, Apple. You might say that it was a change that actually made them more like themselves in a deeper and in a richer way. Sort of like that oak tree I described a few minutes ago. And what did they do after the product was introduced to critical acclaim and great sales? They didn't rest. They iterated it, they innovated it, and they improved it dramatically. The iPod was clearly the best of the bunch right out of the gate. But look what they did just months after the first iPod was sold. They changed it. Even though they were way out in front, they upped the ante, they pushed their lead further, they took the best interface and they made it better. They made the scroll wheel touch sensitive, not mechanical. They examined every element of the iPod. And of course, they made changes. Isn't that what innovation is all about? Soon, there was yet another version of the iPod. Does this one look familiar? The current model. In this version, the controls are part of the scroll wheel, and there is a color screen. This great product just keeps getting even better. So it's pretty clear. The folks at Apple have never stopped trying to improve the iPod. Good enough never is at Apple. And now look what they rolled out last month. It's the new Nano. It has full functionality, and it's smaller, sleeker, and cooler than ever. Sure is beautiful, isn't it? Huh? Is that beautiful? By the way, that was my personal iPod on the screen a few minutes ago. As you probably figured out by now, I just love the iPod. You know, when I'm on the road, and I'm on the road too often, but I'm on the road visiting cafes, it's been great to be able to carry all my favorite tunes with me. Hey, production people, could you put my iPod back up on the screen? Okay, I know, I'm no Britney, but there was no wardrobe malfunction, okay? All right, here's the good news. It's not just Britney I'm able to carry on my iPod. You saw I've got Ricky Martin, I've got Ashley Simpson, I've got all the good stuff on my iPod. And even with that, I still have room for the tracks you all keep telling me we should play in the cafes. You know, all that stuff. Hey, Lincoln Park, I see that up on the screen. Didn't we just open a store there? Or are we opening a store there? That's the same Lincoln Park, right? Okay, anyways. Folks, I'm so into this iPod, and I just love the ads. Do you know Steve Jobs invited me to be in one of the iPod ads? Have you seen this one? What do you think, huh? Right pose. It's amazing what graphics can do. You wouldn't know it without the hairline, would you? That's what gives it away. Jesus, okay. Let's be serious again for at least a few more minutes. I want you to think about something. I want you to think about how Apple came to dominate the digital music business. It's the two things we talked about earlier. Apple's success came from staying true to the things that made them different and the things that made them special all at the same time. And yet they continue to innovate, become even better and more relevant. That's our challenge too. And maybe you're sitting out there thinking to yourself, sure, Apple can do it. They're one of the most respected brands in the world. Innovation is their business. Plus, they've got a really cool CEO. But how can Panera be expected to perform as well as Apple? That's what you're thinking, right? Am I right? I know, except for the CEO part. You got a cool CEO, right? So, okay, we're there. All right. Hey, I wanted more applause on that line. Come on. Yeah. Come on, guys, you're slowing down. I'm putting the energy out. I need you up. Okay, actually, it's even worse. Panera has a tougher challenge than Apple does. They develop great products. We develop great products. But they put their products in a box, they bring it to a shipping dock, and then they're done. For us, the work is just beginning. It's the day in, day out, face-to-face delivery in front of customers that gets difficult for businesses like Panera. You know it. Success in the food business is about execution, it's about execution, and it's about execution. And as you know, execution is where most companies in the food business lose their way. Allow me a brief story. As you may know, several years ago, our friends at Atlanta Bread hired a senior chef from the Ritz-Carlton, and that guy was to head their food development and lead the charge against Panera. This chef developed a range of products from egg dishes to pizza and pasta. They rolled them into a test store. I felt I had to see for myself what they were so proud of. So I grabbed Scotty, we got onto a plane, and we went to see the new products at a test store in Dallas. And when I got there, I found products that were, at best, mediocre. And worse, well, I was delighted. They were served by people who didn't have a clue. Maybe that's why there's only one car in that Atlanta Bread parking lot in that photo up there. Right? Look, they weren't very good. And notice they even have that neon open sign on, and only one car. Hard to believe. Anyway, I'm sure that the ABC, the Atlanta Bread egg dishes, the Atlanta Bread pizza, and the Atlanta Bread pasta products were absolutely wonderful when prepared by the head chef in his test kitchen. But those products didn't reach the customer. I can tell you from personal experience that the food we ate when we visited that Atlanta Bread company was anything but wonderful by the time the ABC operating system got done with it. What struck me was that no matter how good the chef, and no matter how strong the R&D products in the lab, Atlanta Bread didn't have the skilled people, it didn't have the strong processes, it didn't have the managerial coverage, nor the commitment necessary to execute great food. In contrast, our execution is where we really shine. You saw the videos earlier of our customers talking about why they love Panera. Much of what our guests experience in Neil's video is created through Panera warmth and the quality with which we execute. But here's the tough question. Are we good enough to execute all that the Panera brand can become? What will it take? As you think about that, I'd like you to consider something else. As we push up the level of innovation in our cafes, are we likely to end up with the problems that Atlanta Bread faced? Tomorrow, you're going to hear a wonderful observer of businesses like ours, a friend of ours named Bob Sutton. We first became introduced to Bob's work when we heard the title of one of his books, The Knowing Doing Gap. I think just the title captures this issue for us. Ideas are important. Thinking deeply about strategy is critical. But simply knowing isn't enough. Doing, execution as we call it, is where Panera must surpass the Atlanta Breads of the world. You get the point. Good ideas don't generate Panera warmth, and they don't engender Panera hugs. Only people do. That's the reason for our commitment to staffing and training and to the further development of Panera warmth throughout the system. Becky, Irene, and Pat will cover these initiatives with you during tomorrow's session. In addition, we have a team addressing what some consider our greatest executional weakness. What is it? What is our greatest executional weakness? Let me tell you, folks, the dirty little secret of Panera is inaccuracy. It's our soft underbelly. Make no mistake, right now, 1 out of every 5 sandwiches we hand to customers has been inaccurately prepared. 1 out of 5. That performance would barely earn us a passing grade in school. And for that reason, we intend to get a whole lot better at getting the correct order to every customer. In fact, our ability to systematically fix problems like inaccuracy will be a leading indicator of our capabilities to take the innovations you'll hear about later and deliver them in the Panera of tomorrow. Jeff Nave, Hank Simpson, and Mark Brownstein will review some of these efforts and other operational initiatives with you during tomorrow's general session. Right now, I'd like to talk about another area of concern relative to innovation. Several years ago, Jeff Rains. Jeff is Ken Rosenthal's partner in our Denver, Columbus, and Cincinnati markets. Jeff said something to our leadership team at a franchise roundtable meeting, and it stuck with me for all these years. He said to me, "You're killing me with good ideas." And then he went on to ask, when is enough enough, Ron? Well, that certainly got my attention. I take Panera so personally, and I so want to do a good job for all of you. You know, Jeff is my customer. And if all this innovation is not helping him, why are we doing it? And it got me thinking. It's very difficult to strike a balance here. We can't stop innovating. But Jeff has a point. We're pretty sure that enough is never enough. It doesn't last long. But it's equally clear that we must do a better job of running the innovation process. When we innovate, we must be sure to bet on the things that really matter. And it's not always clear at the start of an idea whether it is or is not going to be something that can really move the needle for our business. So it's clear. We get it. We need to bet on the right things. That's a no-brainer. But innovation naturally involves risk. So we won't be right 100% of the time. We know that, and we know something else. When we bet on a project and we want to get it right for our customers, we've also got to get it right for our operators. We know we have to do a better job of fleshing out issues before a new program reaches our stores. To do this, we've tripled the concept team in the last year. And we've created a rollout task force whose job is to sweat the details and make sure everything we roll out is field-friendly. These are important changes. But let's not forget the reality of innovation. Innovation is an iterative and it's a sloppy process. It's not easy and it's not science. Frankly, it's an art. And that means it will always take some time to prove whether we're doing something smart or whether we're doing something stupid. And we can't wait forever. Only a limited time can provide absolute certainty. And in the environment in which we compete, time is one of the most precious of commodities. I believe to maintain Panera's competitive advantage, we must innovate and we must execute, all the while remaining true to who we are. It's easy to declare, isn't it? But so difficult to accomplish. And there are so many ways that we can fail. We could fail if we bet on the wrong initiatives. We could fail if we don't make a real commitment to a new business and operate like we belong in that business. We could fail if we don't staff for the future and invest in our people so they can remain a competitive strength. And we could fail if we do not allow an innovation the time to get off the ground successfully. Folks, innovation and execution are simply not easy. It's so difficult, I think a sane person would question whether Panera can do what is necessary to innovate and to execute successfully. Fortunately, I have an answer. I've come with the answer. The answer is definitely yes. Why am I confident in our ability? Because we already have innovated with such great success. You guys have a great track record making big bets, and a great track record making big bets on significant changes at Panera. And we have a strong track record utilizing our concept platform and our artisan bread credibility to provide our customers with new and even more relevant solutions. Folks, innovation is already deep in Panera's DNA. Over the years, we've added many, many new products to Panera. But there's only been a few times when we've added something that was more than a product or an improvement. Rarely does a concept like Panera attempt to enter a whole new business. The last time we tried to build a whole new business was back in 1996 when we first introduced bagels, the original bagel display. See, the bagel rollout wasn't just about selling bagels. It was about building off our artisan baking heritage to open the breakfast business. It's difficult to believe, but only 9 years ago, we didn't have any business in the morning. As a result of our successful bagel program, breakfast now accounts for about 15% of our sales. In fact, it's part of the reason our average weekly volumes are so high. For many of you, it may be difficult to imagine Panera without a breakfast day part. Just think about it. Can you imagine it? But for those of you who were here before bagels, I know you know how hard it was for us to enter the bagel business. Back in 1996, we had two hurdles to overcome if we wanted to be successful in the bagel business. First, we had a breakthrough with customers who thought of us as the sourdough bread people. And that meant we needed a product line big enough, a product line strong enough, and a product line special enough to matter in a world where there were a lot of other choices for bagels. And second, we had a breakthrough with our own people who could not envision what bagels were to become at Panera. Back then, people were worried about bagels. They worried they would reduce the sales of our sourdough rolls. Back then, we were selling 6 sourdough rolls a day, and that's what they were worried about. In the short term, the naysayers are always right. But in the game of innovation and in the game of competitive advantage, we play to win medium term and long term. So why did bagels finally work? We started with a great product. How many times have you had a customer rave about our insanely good Asiago cheese bagels, huh? No? Yes. We added strong merchandising. We made the commitment to operate our bagel business as if our whole company depended on bagels. And that meant not settling for volumes below what bagel guys generate. We weren't trying to be a bread guy in the bagel business. We were bagel guys. And with that change in paradigm, we had the strength to do what was necessary to do bagels right. And we encouraged the organization to suspend cynicism long enough to get the program up and going. And that meant investing in staff, and that meant investing in displays ahead of sales. I cannot tell you, you don't appreciate this, I don't think, unless you were there. I cannot tell you how difficult the rollout of bagels were in 1996. The problem was we needed our customers to see us as bagel guys, not sandwich guys. And we needed to see ourselves that way as well. In fact, I do not believe we would have made it over the tipping point without the efforts of one manager who believed in the dream that bagels represented and took the risk to act like a bagel guy. That manager is Chris Harry, and I'm pleased to say, whoa. Well, hang on. We'll have a chance to applaud for Chris. Right? I'm pleased to say that Chris still works for us, as you obviously know, and is one of our general managers up in St. Louis. Back in 1996, Chris ran our Brentwood Cafe, the old Brentwood Cafe, for those who remember it. It was he who suggested that we take half of our bread wall and we convert it over to merchandising bagels. You have no idea what that meant. Back then, that could have been a career-threatening move, folks. And then he staffed up his cafe in the morning, and he started baking dozens and dozens of bagels. In fact, he baked far more than he was selling. For weeks, people kept questioning, why was he over on his labor? And why did he have so many leftovers? His answer, if I'm going to be in the bagel business, I've got to have bagels. Makes sense? Should it have been a surprise when several months later, Chris's store was generating over $3,000 a week in bagel sales? $3,000 a week. And $3,000 a week, everybody wanted in on the action. Sort of like a crap table I saw Johnny McGuire running to late last night. But at any rate, folks, right, I believe our bagel initiative might have failed to get off the ground had it not been for the commitment of Chris Harry. He confronted the prevailing wisdom, and he showed the Panera world that we could be bagel guys. Chris, could I ask you to stand and accept our thanks? Now's your chance to applaud for Chris. Come on, up. Understand, it's personal action that makes a difference. It would never have happened without this guy. Today, bagels and breakfast are taken for granted at Panera. But never forget, that was not always true. Enough people had to believe in bagels to make it happen. And our history is filled with bets on innovation and is filled with bets on new ways to execute that in hindsight look smart. Let's take another example. It's hard to remember what our store prototype looked like before the wheat store. Take a look. Right? That was our old store prototype back in 1997, 8 years ago. Been a few changes, huh? Just about everything's changed. Everything but the bread when we rolled out the wheat store. And even the bread itself was to change just 12 months after we changed the wheat store. I'm sure you would agree with me that the decision to move to the wheat store was one of the most impactful decisions in the history of the company. Yet we moved into a system-wide rollout of this innovation with zero, and I mean zero testing. We saw it and we decided to roll with it. I must tell you that I had the deepest gratitude I can express for our original group of franchisees. People like Jim Majors, Randy Simon, Mo Sinclair and Bob Wolf, not to mention Ken Rosenthal and Jeff Raines, as well as the Hamras, as well as the Cavellis, who believed in our vision for Panera and built these untested new prototype cafes. Think of what we were asking them. These people bought a franchise, and within a few short years, we were changing not just the store design, but the primary product, our bread. And also, by the way, the name on the door. And all this change was based not on market research, but on a vision called concept essence. In my judgment, the support of these early franchisees was one of the most significant turning points in the history of our company. Let's talk about another one. How about the decision to switch to China in 1998? Look at this Panera Bakery Cafe today. Can you really imagine we would be serving Panera sandwiches on paper plates or offering soup in styrofoam for in-store consumption or using plastic serviceware in an environment this beautiful and this respectful of real food? Could you imagine that? Right? Just think about that for a second. But back in 1998, some people thought adding China and silverware for in-store use was a crazy idea. They'd look at me and they'd tell me, no one else in quick service is doing it, Ron. They said to me, Ron, it requires a dishwashing machine, doesn't it? They would ask me, why would Panera want to go to silverware if my customers haven't asked for it? Or more critically, they would note the cost of China, the cost of silverware, and then they'd ask me, how much was it done for sales this week? And that in the third week of the test. Folks, it took us 9 months, and it took us 3 tries till we figured out how to do China and silverware sensibly. That's the innovation process. And to this day, I can't tell you how much increased sales we get from real China and silverware. I really can't. But I do know something. I know China and silverware are essential parts of creating the Panera experience. And the Panera experience is delivering industry-leading sales per unit. Bottom line, we learned from our rollout of China and silver that if you're truly committed to doing something special, you have to be prepared to do what others have not done before. And for many people, this is the most difficult part of the innovation process. Let me explain. You know, most people look at me and they think, because I'm CEO, it's easy for me to get anything I want done. But actually, that's not the truth. Right? It really isn't. The change to China and the change to silverware is a good example. At the time we were considering making the switch, many Panera people didn't understand why I was making such a big deal out of China and silverware. I thought it was a great idea, so I pushed it hard. But there was a fair amount of opposition, and it came very close to derailing the project. Ultimately, China and silverware only happened because a bunch of us wouldn't give up. For the next several years, I wandered around the country. I continued to wonder, why did so many people oppose China? I couldn't understand it. It didn't make sense. It was right there in concept essence. And it wasn't until I visited Ray Kroc's original McDonald's up there in Des Plaines, Illinois, that the opposition finally made sense to me. You know, that first McDonald's is now a museum. And as I sat there in that museum, I realized they just had 3 tables, and they had 12 chairs. Now, Kroc was a forward-thinking guy. He knew most of his business would be takeout. So based on that understanding, he made what was then an unprecedented decision to serve his food on paper and to utilize plastic silverware in his restaurants. That first McDonald's was a huge success for Kroc. And as a result, 30,000 QSR restaurants were built over the next 3 decades that mimicked that first McDonald's in the use of paper and in the use of plastic. And what's amazing to me is that the plastic and paper program that Kroc initiated continued to be the only way to operate limited service restaurants well after dining rooms were enlarged and lots of money were being spent on them. And so I came to realize that it was that belief handed down through generations of QSR managers that led to the opposition to China and silverware. The point of my story is this. When people draw their inspiration from past experiences and from prevailing industry knowledge, they often make the biggest errors of judgment. Thank God we have concept essence to keep us focused on the future and to help us understand how to best compete. Let me tell you, folks, conventional industry thinking, on the other hand, looks for direction in all the wrong places. It looks backward at standard practice, and it looks sideward at what the competition is doing that month. And thanks to so many of you folks, for approaching Panera from the fresh perspective of a customer, rather than from the tired perspective of a restaurant industry professional. You know, China and silver may have been hard, but artisan bread was harder. You know, artisan bread required a $50,000 investment in each cafe, and it required retooling our FDFs at great expense. Talk about courage. You all had it in spades to make the move to artisan bread. In retrospect, we owe our franchisees and we owe our company leaders tremendous appreciation for their wisdom and for their leadership in artisan bread. Folks, do you realize that with artisan bread, you accomplished something quite amazing in the annals of American business? You upgraded not only our namesake product, but you completely redid our operating system. Metaphorically, the artisan bread change was similar to changing the engine of Panera Bread as we motored down the highway. Think about that. Now let's talk about last year's big innovation, Wi-Fi. This past week, the magazine Fast Company named their high-tech achievers for 2004. Netflix, I think you probably get it, the internet movie renter, was named the winner. But do you know who came in second? A restaurant. Can you believe a restaurant came in second? You know what that restaurant was called? Panera Bread. Panera? A high-tech leader? Tom Kish, our CEO, he tells me all the time, he doesn't have the funding to be a high-tech leader. How is it? How could we be a high-tech leader? Try free Wi-Fi. I guess you could say that puts us in some pretty fast company, and I don't mean the magazine. Can you believe we now average 90,000 hours in free Wi-Fi usage per week across Panera? That amounts to 120 hours in Wi-Fi usage per cafe per week. And talk about a growth business. We're running triple the number of hours of Wi-Fi usage this year versus last. Pretty cool, huh? Is that pretty cool? Would you say Wi-Fi's helped build your business? Huh? Yes. Would you agree that Wi-Fi's been a great innovation for Panera? Let's talk about 2005's big innovation. What was it? It was providing our guests with food that has as much integrity as our bread. We attempted to accomplish that mission by utilizing all-natural, antibiotic chicken. Antibiotic-free chicken, I might add. This program also took courage, and once again, you all came through. As you know, our all-natural ABF chicken is significantly more expensive than the commercial birds we had previously used. I will tell you something you already know. It's working. Consumers get all-natural chicken, and they appreciate it. They're voting with their wallets. And I don't think any of us really expected to sell twice as much chicken of the ABF form than of the old. Did you? Did you ever expect to sell as much chicken as we're selling? Tell the truth to yourself. And isn't it nice to have a chicken product we're happy to eat and proud to serve to our families? Is that true? I feel that way. Good time for a drink. Let me tell you, that is très cool. Okay, so as we wrap up our history lesson, I'd like you to ask yourself a few questions. And I want you to tell yourself the truth. How many of you did not fully appreciate how customers would respond to these many initiatives, these many innovations? How many of you wondered whether these changes really made sense when we were considering them? Did you fight them? Did you get stuck in conventional industry thinking? Did you focus on avoiding the short-term pain rather than putting in place the means for long-term gain? Did you hold back in making the investment in staffing, in equipment, in training, and thereby put the initiative in jeopardy? Let me tell you, I'm sure we've all been guilty of less than clear vision. I know I've had my moments of doubt along the way. I'll tell you that for sure. But the reality is, what we do at Panera is working. Take the history of Panera as a whole, and you'll quickly reach the conclusion that we know how to innovate. Panera has succeeded in innovation because we've chosen the right bets and we've executed them well. We have a great track record of finding out where the world is going and of getting Panera there first. And we have a great track record of staying true to who we are and simultaneously pushing the limits of what we can be. We are propelled by a culture that is fanatically pushing to make everything about Panera better and more relevant for tomorrow. And folks, we're not done innovating yet. In fact, we're presently preparing for some of the biggest and some of the most significant innovations that Panera has ever undertaken. Think of the innovations we're contemplating as a whole lot of incremental improvements and an iPod or two. Just think of it in that headset. So what are these innovations, or as we say in Vegas, bets that Panera will be making in the next year? What are they? Let's begin with our Via Panera bet. You launched Via into orbit last year, and it's been a huge success. It represents over 4% of our sales. It's a $75 million business today. And now it's time to push Via to the next level. VIA can be over 5% of sales in Q4, and it can be over 6% of sales in 2006. But to do so, we've got to improve VIA. We've got to iterate it. We've got to do just as Apple did, continually improving the iPod. You'll learn more about the next iterations planned for VIA from Heidi in her presentation tomorrow. But allow me one other comment on VIA before we go on. Our mission with VIA has been to expand our VIA business without damaging the core retail business. If you're doing 6% of your sales in VIA, but your retail business is flat, you're kidding yourself. A flat business is a business in trouble. VIA is no substitute for running a great cafe. Don't delude yourself by allowing your success with VIA to disguise your weakness in your retail business. And if you're running your core retail business well, but not doing VIA because it's too much trouble, you're missing a real opportunity. Folks, what we want is both a strong retail business and a strong VIA business. Let's now discuss a second key area of innovation, store design. G2 is also part of our effort to evolve Panera. It's now ready for prime time, and it represents a huge additional competitive point of difference. We all know that competitors are imitating our current design. Please, let's not wait for them to open look-alike stores across the street from all of our cafes. Like Apple, we cannot rest on yesterday's innovations. We need to take our design to the next level so we can continue to be the first choice when customers seek a comfortable place to dine, a comfortable place to gather, and a comfortable place to relax. Do we need G2? Did we need Wi-Fi and ABF chicken last year? Tell me. I'll give you my view. All company stores going forward are going to be G2. Cool. You can also expect to see us innovate our store design in another way. We've launched a project to scale the store's capacity and investment to the target volume. You're going to hear more details about both the G2 rollout and our efforts to scale investment to projected sales from Mike Nolan tomorrow, so I won't go further. But I'd like to now discuss our third area of innovation, share the warmth marketing. All of us agree that speaking to our customers more aggressively, it's a huge opportunity for the Panera brand. And some of us believe there's great potential impact from more aggressive marketing. These folks remind us that as we approach the $2 billion mark in system-wide sales, we've reached the point where we can use conventional marketing models. They point to people like Applebee's who've had success with advertising. But there are others in our Panera family who think mass communications is a very, very slippery slope. They would argue that aggressive communications gets increasingly more expensive and at the same time leads to a diminished impact. Some jokingly refer to it as cocaine. Once you start it, you can't stop. They say that operations and execution deserve our greater attention and that mass communications diminishes the brand. They cite the success of Starbucks, which built a hugely successful brand with a focus on local marketing and without any significant TV or radio support. Even David Novak, CEO of Yum, whose company owns Pizza Hut, KFC, and Taco Bell, has questioned the role of marketing in building his business. This is what Novak had to say in a recent article. I blame problems at the restaurants on former owner PepsiCo, which emphasized marketing at the expense of quality victuals, service, and atmosphere. Friends, if David Novak is questioning the role of advertising within his brands, what's the message for Panera? Folks, let me provide some perspective on this issue. We at Panera have figured out so much about our business. That's why we got here. That's why we're having this success. But we've yet to resolve how best to market our company. And as a community, it's one of the most important issues that we face. We're talking about big money here, your money and our money. And once consumers get used to our advertising, they're going to come to expect it. You can't turn it on, you can't turn it off. As a result, spending big money on communication and big money on marketing is not a no-brainer. Rather, it's a very important business opportunity as well as a risk. And it's got to receive our best thinking, and it's got to receive lots of serious discussion and testing. I'm here to tell you our commitment is to lead such an effort. I don't yet know the form Share the Warmth marketing should take, but I do know the criteria we will use to evaluate our success in any marketing endeavor. What is it? All marketing efforts must deliver both brand integrity and it must provide clear financial return in the medium term. Nothing less is acceptable. We've staffed up significantly, and we're making a major bet that more effective marketing can add value to our business. And if it does, I would expect this would have a significantly positive impact on Panera and make a huge difference for us. You'll hear much more about where we're headed with the Share the Marketing initiative later this afternoon when Michael Markowitz, our Chief Brand Officer, is up here. Now, as we transition, I'd briefly like to discuss the fourth area in which you can expect innovation, and that's our bakery. We call this effort the magic of bakery. To me, this initiative represents both a risk and, again, an opportunity. First, the risk. You may not know it, but we are close to eroding the bread in the Panera bread logo. Can you imagine this happening at Panera? Let me share with you the facts. In 2004, bread loaf units were down 22%. This year, bread loaf unit sales are down 15%. Bagels were down 8% last year and are down 5% this year. Last year, we could blame this on Atkins. This year, there's no one to blame but ourselves. As we pushed other parts of our business, we've ignored our bakery. Folks, we run the risk of ignoring our bakery to death. Shame on us if we do to ourselves what all of Atkins couldn't do to us. Remember, bread may not be your biggest seller, but it's what defines you and differentiates you. This is the soul of Panera we're talking about. We can't let it waste away. So we're taking a deep breath of bakery aromas, and we're recommitting to our bakery product line. Artisan sweet goods is just the beginning. Our new choice bar, offering whole grain products, is another step. And that initiative serves both our Magic of the Bakery effort and our Food with Integrity initiative. Later, you're going to hear more from Scott and some of his team on how we're going to make bread and other baked goods important again. Okay. I know some of you are ready for the break, and I am too. But there's still one more innovation I need to review with you. In terms of potential impact, it's Panera's iPod. In fact, it's the most significant innovation we've attempted in our recent history. If we're a movie, we'd be calling it the bagel sequel. And like bagels, it has the potential to change our business model. In fact, I think it might turn out to be the biggest innovation we undertake this decade. I think it can do for Panera what the iPod did for Apple. As the iPod took Apple into the music business, this initiative is meant to lead Panera into another day part. But what is it? You know what it is. It's the evening day part. That's for all the real estate near the Corn Belt that we seem to do. All right, most of us understand the opportunity. The opportunity is based on consumers' need for time, consumers' need for food quality, and consumers' need for environment. Think of my family, the Shaich family. Nancy and I have a 2-year-old Emmy, and we have a 6-year-old Michael. Good-looking family? What do you think? Are they looking good? How do you like the hair on that daughter, huh? You believe I once maybe had hair like that? Hard to believe. When Nancy and I go out in the evening with our children, we measure time in minutes from when we leave the living room to when we return back through that front door. And if your family is like ours, we never, ever have the time or patience for a half-hour longer waits at our favorite casual dining establishment, let alone an hour and a half for dinner. And more often than not, you, like us, would prefer to avoid the Me Too, processed foods, and fern bar environments found in all too many casual dining establishments. Folks, who better than Panera to serve the people like my family and yours in the evening? Panera already offers much of what consumers want in the evening. We offer the ability to get in and the ability to get out quickly. And we offer all the imagery and credibility that comes from our fresh dough heritage and our hot stone deck ovens. And on top of that, we provide a child-friendly and a conversation-friendly upscale environment. And this is particularly so as we move to the new G2 design. In fact, I would suggest our guests are ahead of us in recognizing the potential Panera has in the evening. Does it not amaze you, as it does me, that our 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock hours are our third and fourth highest volume hours of the day? True, we don't do any dinner now, nothing in the evening. What we offer is what we call lunch in the evening. And even without a dinner menu, just our soup, salad, and sandwiches, our customers are seeking us out. Folks, you don't need to be a marketing whiz to know there's an opportunity in the evening. Despite the apparent opportunity, the evening business has some very real challenges for Panera. See, for many of our operators, the evening hours are simply put afterthoughts. This is our store hours sign. But maybe this is what the sign should really say. You know what pre-close is, don't you? Right? You know what that is? That's when operators like you keep the doors open for suits like me, only because that's what the sign in the window says you should keep it open. All right? You all know what I'm talking about. How many of our late afternoon and evening hours are staffed with the B team? You know the truth. And how many of our cafes are really in pre-close after 5 o'clock? And then there's the question of how our customers view us. Right? Think about their headset. Can the soup, salad, sandwich guys at Panera really do evening? Come on! We really can't expect to break through that kind of consumer belief system, can we? Let me tell you something else. History says, we got to look at history, Panera will not make it in the evening. Why do I say that? Well, because no one in our business has succeeded at it. No one. Not Cozy, not Corner Bakery, not Atlanta Bread, and not Paradise Bakery. All have tried building an evening business, and all have failed on it. It's a very serious and a very sobering realization, isn't it? So let me ask you, why are we crazy enough to think we can make evening work at Panera? For the same reason that Apple succeeded in dominating the amusement business, when there were so many other companies that had failed at music before them. We have the courage to do something truly exciting for the consumer. And we have the strength to break through our own internal limitations. So what will it take to build a strong evening business? It starts with a great product as an entry to the dinner business. For us, that is Crispani, our brand name for pizza. In short, Crispani is pizza done the Panera way, handcrafted, using artisan traditions, natural and unadulterated ingredients, and our stone deck ovens. Much as we did with artisan bread, bagels, and chicken, our goal with Crispani is to break through to the consumer by offering a product that's better than anything available anywhere else. And I think we have. But of course, I'm not objective. So I've asked several industry experts, and I've asked a number of food critics to sample Crispani and to give me their opinions. In fact, we're fortunate enough to have one of those experts with us today. Might I impose on him to join me on stage and share with you his expert opinion on Crispani's relative competitive positioning. And as he comes on stage, I want you to know something. This is a food critic deeply respected in the Shaich household. I'm going to cry. All right. Your name, sir?
Michael.
And your last name?
Shaich.
How do you spell it?
S-H-A-I-T-H.
Okay, you're the real one. You're the only one who can spell it. Okay. All right. I understand you're an expert on pizza. Can you tell us your experiences with Crispani?
I went to Italy with my mom, dad, and sister. And I went to 25 pizza places, and Panera's is the best in the whole wide world.
Okay. Okay, that's the word from our pizza expert. Okay, I know. Michael's really not all that, stay with me. That's not all that independent. And as my son, he's almost on Panera's payroll. You're off the payroll, kid. In fact, he's been checking out our Crispani test cafes with me for the past year. Here he is in an early Crispani testing in Syracuse, New York, with Scott Davis's son, Kyle. See the bosun? Kyle sure seemed pleased. I wonder what he was thinking that afternoon. Michael, on the other hand, seemed a bit more concerned. What do you think was on his mind? Folks, I encourage you to try Crispani for yourself and reach your own conclusions. We'll be serving it for lunch at the vendor show, and that will follow the conclusion of my comments. One other thing, be warned. Michael told me he wanted you to know that if you disagree with his judgment on Crispani, he would like to invite you to have an after-hours chat with him when the meeting is over. Okay, now, I want to tell you something. I didn't put him up to this. This is a true story. We were sitting in Italy. We were sitting in Italy as a family, and it's all he wanted to eat in Italy. We were sitting there, and he looked at me and he said, Daddy, I've had all this other stuff. Your stuff is still the best in the world. Okay, let's be serious again for one more minute. That's you. Okay. Just one more minute, and then we'll be done. The truth is our Crispani recipes are great, but know that the ultimate success or failure of our entry into evening will be defined by how we execute in the bakery cafes. That's the key. You've got to deliver it. We've got the product. You've got to deliver it. Enough about Crispani for now. You'll hear much more about it this afternoon. But as we conclude, I'd like to ask something of you. I'd like to ask you to recall the magnitude of innovation Team Panera has conceived and executed in just the last decade. Now use that understanding to imagine Panera 3 years from now. How about Panera 5 years from now? And how about Panera 10 years from now? What do you think is in Panera's future? None of us knows. But I can tell you this. I believe the next 5 years could very well be the most exhilarating time in the history of our company. The future is rich with opportunities for Panera. I am certain that we will continue to deliver for our customers every day, making the differences, large and small, that keep them coming back. I know we will refine our environment with the G2 prototype, and we will improve customers' experiences with our Inaccuracy initiative. I believe we'll rekindle the magic of the bakery and ensure that our platform of bread and baked goods remains strong. I expect we'll build on the new businesses that can already be judged a success via Panera. And I very much hope we'll crack the code on how to do marketing the Panera way, and that we will share the warmth with a whole new group of customers who will try us and love us. And I think we have a fair shot at becoming a player in the evening business. And I predict that because Crispani will be the first product that gets us there. And let me tell you, if we're effective in our innovation, I am confident that our industry-leading average volumes and our industry-defining reputation will not only be sustained, but will increase still further. Panera is a business, yes, but it's also about something deeply personal. From time to time, all of us ask ourselves why we do this, why we work so hard, why we care so much about Panera. Now, maybe for some of you, you didn't go through the rehearsal? Now, maybe for some of you, the answer is that Panera is just a paycheck. Of course that matters. But I know that for many of us, Panera is about something more. True, we're not solving the nation's most challenging problems, but we are providing the kind of nourishment that's missing in today's society. We're providing a sense of belonging. We're providing a sense of being more than just a face in the crowd. We're providing a sense of warmth. And we do it for millions and millions of people every day all over the country. In some modest way, it's our gift to the world. At the same time, it's a lovely and important gift to ourselves. Nothing makes me prouder than when my son introduces me to his friends as the man who makes the Cinnamon Crunch bagels at Panera. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you have that feeling? Yes. None of us knows how the next chapter of Panera will unfold. But we do know this. If we stay true to who we are and we evolve tomorrow, we will create the future that we desire. This is the challenge. This is the responsibility we each have when we're blessed with a brand like Panera. Viva la Panera, vive la différence. Thank you.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I told you it was very important, far too important to be walking on stage with a pooper scooper. He's above that kind of duty. But now I have some idea of the big bets that you are talking about, as well as the innovation that makes this company famous. Now it is time to go to the vendor showcase and to lunch. This time I will try the Crispani. Perhaps I'll dress up as a famous Italian like the Pep. So we ask you to visit our vendors, have some lunch, be back here at 2:30, and we will resume our festivities. I bid you adieu. Watch out for mimes.